So we got 5 main different categories we're going to cover to help keep things cheap for you. First is we're going to cover your rig. So we're going to go over some simple modifications you can do. Then we're going to go into your traveling expenses such as gas. Then we're going to start going into your sleeping setup. And then we're going to go into your kitchen setup. And finally, we're just going to cover basic campground necessities. So let's start with your overland rig. There's a few modifications you're going to want to do right off the bat once you purchase your rig. First being is going to be your new tires. You really want to have new tires because those street tires that you bought the car with aren't that good out in the dirt, in the rocks, in the mud. So I run 35-inch Cooper tires. They're the old model, the STT. So depending on your style of traveling, that being if you are doing expeditions where you're driving thousands of miles versus if you're a weekend warrior like myself, smaller tires are going to get you better gas mileage. It's going to be less wear and tear in your suspension. However, they won't perform as well off-road as if you have the bigger tires. So the next thing you're going to want to look at in your new overland rig is your suspension. You're either going to want to lift your vehicle in order to fit bigger tires, or you're just going to want to replace what you have. I went that route. I didn't want to have a bracket lift, which reduced my ground clearance, raised my center of gravity super high. So I went and bought Fox coilovers. They're adjustable from 0 lift to up to 3 inches. So right now I'm running an inch of lift in the front, and then the rear is still stock height with the Fox mounted tube shocks. I do plan on raising it up to 3 inches though, about 2.5, 3 inches, in order to get a little bit better approach angles because my bumper is starting to take a few hits too many. But that being said, you're going to want to think about your specific application. Since I mostly just run down dirt roads really fast, I didn't need the high clearance for like a rock crawler would. So it all just depends on what you're trying to do for your build and the types of terrain that you have. So most of the terrain up here is going to be old dirt roads that are just really rutted out and gnarly, so you want to have a smooth ride, so I went with the coilovers instead of a bracket lift. So let's talk about your traveling expenses. That's going to include your gas, snacks on the road, and everything like that. Goes without saying, go try to find the cheapest gas you can, but also realizing that the modifications you do to your rig are going to either hinder your performance, your gas mileage, or it can help it. I myself drive a lifted truck with 35s and a big engine, so I get about 10 miles to the gallon downhill with the tailwind. If I ran smaller tires with a smaller lift, I could probably get better gas mileage, but for me, being a weekend warrior, the trade-off for off-road performance versus miles per gallon, where I'm only going an hour and a half away, I would rather spend more money on the mods to do better off-road than to gas to get to where I'm going. So now we're moving into your sleeping setup. Right now I'm using a Ozark Trail. It's a 4-person tent. I got it for $35 at Walmart, and then I'm also using a $7 inflatable air mattress. Keeps it nice and cheap. I'm not spending thousands of dollars on a rooftop tent, which I don't really need, and I can have 4 people in that tent. Keeps it super cheap, keeps it super easy. You can take your family out, you can take your friends out, and everybody can fit in there. Now, the next thing we're going to cover is going to be your kitchen setup. There are tons of different ways you can do this. You've seen people who have full setups in the back of their car or SUV. There are people who have those big little standalone kitchens. I myself use a Coleman 2-burner, the green stove that pretty much everybody's dad has. You can also just use a single propane bottle and a single burner that just screws in. Or you can do a jet boil. There's all different kinds of options, and there's different ways you can get them cheap. So it's just all about looking around and finding a good deal. Another thing that comes with your kitchen setup is going to be your water and your cooler. So for water, you're going to want to take at least 2 gallons of water per person per day. So I'm only out here for a day, so I only brought 3 gallons or so. That's going to cover cleaning, drinking water, and then self-hygiene. Also, you don't need to buy a $1,000 cooler that is in your truck or SUV. This is a Coleman 30 quart cooler. I've had it for going on 2 years now. It's served me well. I get 2 small bags of ice and it fills it and keeps ice for a couple days. The only reason I can see someone spending thousands of dollars on an ARB cooler is if you're going to be out and about for a long time off-grid. But most of the time, for weekend warriors like myself, this small cooler is fine. I don't need to run a dual battery setup for my truck, spending more money for that. I just spent $30 on a cooler and just throw some ice in it, throw some beer and food, and I'm good for the weekend. So your base camp setup. There's only a few things you really need to have. The first one being is going to be a good camping chair. I myself am 6'4", about 240 pounds. I'm a big guy, so I needed to find a good big chair that I could fit in. Found this one from Walmart, $14. It's an Ozark Trail, like the extra large. Works good for me, and it was nice and cheap. You're also going to need a small hatchet or an axe. You're going to use it to split firewood for your fire. You're going to use it to pound stakes into your ground for your tent. There's tons of different ways to use this and utilize it in order to help you set up your camp. You're also going to need a good flashlight. This one is an Ozark Trail. It's got 3 different modes to it. Makes it really nice to have. Again, Ozark Trails, I really like all their products. They've always been really great for me. I don't really use lanterns because between a campfire and this, I'll have more than enough light to see at night. You're also going to want multiple ways to start a fire. So I've got the regular barbecue lighter here, and then I also carry flint and steel, which is what I usually use to set up the fire. You're going to want to have more than one way because you never know when one of them is either going to run out of gas, you're going to break a steel or a flint. It's nice to have more than one option so you know that you're going to have an actual fire that night. Well, I hope some of these tips helped you today. If you have any other ideas or any other comments, please comment below. Subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time.